section is on accountability, which is really, really fun. One of my favorite things to teach on. I'm going to run through the book very quickly. Let's skip all the way to 18.9. These are my favorite numbers to know. I think there's a bubble missing. We'll add it in as we go. So we've got leads to appointments, appointments to agreements, agreements to contracts, contracts to closing, right? That's how we track literally everything in our business. Everything. We do ours just a little different. We go leads to contacts, contacts to appointments, appointments to agreements, agreements to contracts, and contracts to closing. The added bubble is leads will come in off realtor.com, Zillow, if you're calling expired leads or for sale by owner leads, just having a name and a phone number or a name, phone number, email, that is a lead. But it doesn't mean that you've actually contacted them, because it's always good to know what your contact rate is, right? Because if it takes me 100 leads to get one appointment, but how many people do I really need to talk to get to that appointment? And how do I gauge how I'm doing on those talks, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about the lead to contact ratio. There's no way to improve that. Now, when you pick up the phone and dial the phone, somebody on the other end has to answer it. That's on them. We find that, yeah.
Except for you used to go to the door.
Yep, or go to the door, which still works.
Okay.
Going to the door, we were about 1 in 6, 1 in 7 leads to door knocks to contacts, people that actually answer the door. And then we were 2 to 1 contacts to appointment / listing. Right? Generally speaking, if I went to the door on an expired or for sale by owner, I would get a listing out of it if they were going to list again. Going to the door is the most powerful. Everybody else picks up the phone and calls. Very few agents actually go and door knock. Right? Door knocking is harder than it used to be. It used to be they were very clumped up, the expireds. So I could do, Canton, Westland, Plymouth all in one day, all in one shot. Hit like 9 homes. It was awesome. Now it's more like, okay, there's one in Commerce, there's one in Novi, there's one in Canton, and there's one way out in Royal Oak I want. And get into all 4 of those in a 5-hour period is very hard to do. All right, which is part of the reason why we're not door knocking as heavy as we used to. It's still definitely worth it if you're focusing on a certain geographic area. I mean, if your focus is Novi, North Farmers, and Livonia, just door knock them all as they come up. And there may only be 1 a day. There could be 3 a day. But know that once you door knock about 7 of them, you're going to talk to 1 person. And once you door knock 14, you are going to get paid. However long that takes. Right?
And you would leave material if they weren't there, or you would just...
Yep.
Okay.
Definitely. If I'm going to go all the way over there, they're not going to be home. I'm going to leave them something to try to get them to call me.
Yeah.
Yeah. They generally wouldn't, but still, I think something. So leads to contacts. And that's going to change also on the lead type as well. Okay? Like with expires and for sale by owners, we're running about 15%. 15.6 actually. So for every 100 people that we call, every 100 times we dial the phone, we have between 15 and 16 conversations. Right? Now, appointments, the contacts to appointment, that's a fun one for me. That's one that I watch with my guys like a hawk, right? Mike Ferry will tell you that the worst people in the business, they're picking up the phone and calling, will get 1 appointment for every 35 contacts. The best people known to man that call are at 1 in 14. Which doesn't sound like a huge difference, but it's a very, very large difference.
It's almost twice, well, it's more than twice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's either twice or half, depending on how you look at it. I look at it as it takes half the time to get the same number of appointments, right? And that's all skill level. So, like for myself, by the time I stopped calling, I was somewhere around. Really? No, look, that's not going to happen for you today. That's okay. So I was somewhere around 15, 16, 17 So I do that. All I had to do was talk to 15 people. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Just plug it in, plug it out.
Yeah. So I knew that as long as I talked to 15 people, I would get a listing appointment. And for every 4 listing appointments I went on for an expired or for sale by owner, I got 3 listings. I was at a 75% list rate. Right? So for every 3 hours that I called, or every 4 hours that I called, I would literally get 3 listings. Right? Now, what's the difference between that and 1 in 35? For those 3 listings, instead of calling for 4 hours, you need to call for 8 hours. That's it. That's it. You know, one thing to remember is time over task beats talent every time. Right? I could be the best caller in the world, but if I'm not picking up the phone and making the dials, it doesn't matter. If I only make 1 hour a day, and somebody that absolutely sucks makes 3 hours a day, the worst caller in the world will beat me because they're doing 3 times the number of dials. Simple enough. That's it. Skill set will improve as you go, as long as you pay attention to it. You know, because that will happen, because you'll accidentally say something on the phone that will actually work. Now you gotta pay attention and be like, oh, how the heck did I get that appointment? You gotta run back through it and say, okay, that makes sense. I remember I said this, they said that, I said this, they said that, and then boom, I had an appointment. You know, keeping track of that so you're consistently improving is extremely helpful, right, to get that number down. Most agents, after calling for about 6 months or so, float down from 1 in 35 contacts to an appointment down to about 1 in 20. 1 in 21. That's where your average agent will sit. Right? Now, to dial the phone 100 times by hand takes about 2 to 2.5 hours. Using an auto dialer, it takes about 45 to 51 minutes. Right? So I know if I'm an average agent, I need to be on the phone for about 1 hour and 10 minutes to get an appointment. Right? If I have a 75% conversion rate, that means I need to be on the phone 4 hours and 40 minutes to get 3 listings. That's it. That's all there is. It is that simple. Right? Because from appointment to agreement, it should be at or above 75% close rate. Just by you being there, you got a 50-50 chance of getting it pretty much. You can increase that up to 90%. With expires and for sale by owners, it's really hard to get above 80 because there are going to be a lot of listings that you don't want to take. People that just can't get to the right number. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. With sphere of influence referral, it should be above 90%. Because again, there's still a few of them out there that you're not going to want to take. And that's okay too. You know, you walk out of the appointment, you're like, shoot, these guys are 35, 40% overpriced. That's fine. Not a big deal. You know, Mary Jo just turned down a $1.4 million seller the other day and said, you know what, I really think you need to go list with another agent first. Let them beat their head against the wall and then come back to me when you're ready to get realistic on pricing. And that's pretty much exactly what she said. Because it's true. The home is worth $900. They won't list below 1.4. They're only willing to sign a 90-day contract. There's nobody, well not nobody, but very few agents I know can move a guy $500,000 in 90 days. So let somebody else have the first 90 days, move him $200,000, and then have her come back in the second 90 days and move him to $300,000. And she'll be that much more well-respected and well-regarded by the seller by turning down the listing the first time and having them come back the second time. Right? Does that work all the time? No, it doesn't. But I'd rather have her go work on 3 or 4 other listings during that time that will actually pay us. Right? All right, moving along. Now, when it comes to, there we go. Now, when it comes to it, once you go on the appointments and agreements, now you got to look at how many of those are going to contract. Right? If we're talking about listings, it should be around 80%. Around 80% of all listings you take should sell. And that's going to change a little bit by the market. That's going to change a little bit by how tight you make your parameters for taking a listing. Do they have to list at the right price right out the gate? Or will you allow them some time to do a price reduction? And see if you can talk them down. And if you do that, some people will just never be talked down. No matter how optimistic you are, no matter what they say to get the appointment, well, when we don't see the right price, we will move down. 3 weeks later, we're not seeing the right price. We're not ready yet, 3 weeks later. We're not ready yet, 3 weeks later. We're not ready yet, 3 weeks later, the contract expires. That will happen. There's nothing wrong with that. Right? And that's a choice. That's up to you guys. That's up to what you want. My rule of thumb is, if they're within 20%, take the listing. You know, that's my own rule of thumb, because I can usually move a seller myself 20% without too much of an issue. As far as price reductions go over time, right? As long as the motivation is there, as long as they need to move, right? As long as there's something there that's pushing them forward. So the contract should be about an 80% rate, and the closing should be pretty darn near 100%. Which again goes to skill set. I doubt it would be much more than 5 or 6%. Let's call it 10% for a round number. Part of that's going to be based on how good the co-op agent is and what their skill set is. You know, we do a lot of coaching of co-op agents, which sucks, but it is what it is. But as long as you know what you're doing, then it's easy, right? You know, we had 2 buyer deals this month where we had one agent, one of our agents on the other side that did not know what they were doing, and one agent that very clearly did, right? And both had the same exact issue, both within a week of each other, both had mold issues, which is prevalent in like probably 20-25% of deals that we're doing right now, right? Mold's kind of a big thing at this moment in time for whatever reason. So agent A approached it like this. The report came out, he saw the mold, did not call the buyer. The next day fired off an email to the buyer and said, how would you like to proceed? Day after that, within the contract guidelines, the buyer came back and said, we'd like to go look for a different property. Awesome. Lost the commission check, more work to be done. Agent B saw the mold report before the buyer even saw it, because it came through on both emails at the same time and she checked it. Michelle called the co-op agent and said, hey, listen, there's mold, we're gonna get ProTech out there. Was actually able to get them there next morning, first thing in the morning, like at 8 a.m. Got the quote, came in about $3,200, went back to the other agent and said, you guys are paying $3,200 towards mold. Didn't ask, told. They went back to the buyer and said, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, guess what? There's mold in the property. Right now, about 40% of properties have some sort of mold. About 25% of properties have mold that need to be remediated. The good news is the sellers realize that this is a concern as well. And so I was able to negotiate them getting rid of all the mold and putting a 10-year warranty on the work. All I need you to do is sign this addendum. So the buyer signed the addendum. They went to a closing. Right? And that's how you handle that.
Why did they come during the inspection? I mean, wasn't that talked about during the inspection when did they see it?
They knew about it, but they didn't know the extent of it until the report came out with the photos and the whole thing. Yeah. And ProTech's pretty good at giving an off-the-cuff quote.
They're great.
Like they'll give kind of an off-the-cuff, like variable quote based on the photos, depending on who the inspector is and how good the photos are. You know, Craig Lee's good at that. Bob Bowling's good at that. There are a couple guys out there that are pretty good at that. Where if you take those photos of that inspection report and just can illustrate the ProTech, a lot of times they'll come back and say, okay, this will be somewhere between like 1,200 and 1,800, depending on how bad it is based on the photos. Now we can't give you a locked-in quote until we get there, but at least you have an idea of where this should land, right? So you got something to start working with if they're backed up a couple of days and being able to give a quote. Which leads into both of them, how they prepared their buyer even before the inspection. Now, agent A did not prepare them at all. He said, all right, guys, we're going to do a home inspection. We're going to find out if there's anything wrong. It's going to be great. What happens if there's something wrong? Well, then we can go back and ask for the seller. Is that the truth? Yes and no. It's the law, and it's the way our contract is written. But it is not. Okay. Right and correct can be two different things. Now, is it correct that we can go back and ask for GFI plugs because there were 2 missing? Sure. Is it really the right thing to do, though? No. Why would you ever ask for a seller to replace $28 worth of plugs? Unless you're just seriously looking to aggravate them and get out of the contract. Right? Yeah, the best way to prepare buyers in advance is say, all right, guys, we're going to go do the home inspection. We're concerned about health, safety, and welfare. Those are the things that we're looking to key into. I'm not worried about downspout extensions. I'm not worried about GFI plugs. I'm not worried about any of that stuff because all that stuff's irrelevant. And why is it irrelevant? Because in 90% of the homes that we sell, 90% of the homes that we show, 90% of the homes that are built right now They're all missing downspout extensions. If you're that concerned about it, I can definitely pick you up a Home Depot gift card for $80 so you can go get them. And that's the truth. And it is the truth. You know, letting these buyers know up front, letting the sellers know up front. Hey guys, there are gonna be between 20 and 35 items that come up on the inspection report. If there aren't, the inspector didn't do their job. But really, the only thing that we're concerned with is health, safety, and welfare, Mr. Buyer. So let's see if there's a cracked heat exchanger, because that is health and safety. Let's see if there's mold issues. Let's see if there's signs of water intrusion. Let's see if there are any of these things, because that's the stuff that we're looking for. You know, we're on a bear hunt. We're not worried about the squirrels and the chipmunks. Does that make sense? Yeah. Or you can do what a co-op agent of ours did, representing a very nice young couple in Novi in this home that was multiple offer, that literally aggravated my seller out of the contract. Yeah. She sent over a 2-page addendum with like all 20 some odd things, wanted licensed contractors, permits pulled for things that don't even have permits, which was awesome. And we're looking at that, and Mr. and Mrs. Seller looking at that and like, we can get out of this contract at this point, right? Yup. So they did. Let's move on to the second one. Done. They didn't even respond. Yep, they sent over the addendum saying we want all this nastiness and suck and we don't know what we're doing, and clearly I'm a sucky co-op agent because I didn't prepare my client right. And we sent them back a mutual release. That was our response. And done. Right? That's not to be negative towards anyone, but it's all in how you prepare your buyers as if something's going to actually get to a close, and how you prepare your sellers as well. Now, if you need your sellers to do something like a mold remediation, the easiest way to do it, frankly, is get a copy of the entire inspection report from the co-op agent, send them that, and put a note in the email saying what page the mold is on. Because what are they going to do? They're going to look at all of it. They're going to come to realize that, hey, there were 20 some odd things wrong with this house, wrong with our house, but they're being reasonable. They're only asking for this. Right? Does that make sense? Yeah. Anyway, that's not getting over there. So, leads to appointments, appointments to agreements, agreements to contracts, contracts to closing. And then once closing, now we have to follow up with the missed pass clients, which we'll talk about as well. I'm going to be quite upfront. Other than that, I think the rest of this information is fairly useless. Has anybody taken a minute to look through this? I think I got another one up here. I'm sure I do. Ah, there it is. Yep. Has anybody looked through this accountability section? All right, take a quick scan just for like 1 minute. Let me know any questions you have, because I'm not coming back to it.
Mike, do you find that the 3 to 7% internet lead,
That's accurate.
that is?
Actually, all three of those numbers are fairly accurate. I think the expired for sale by owner number that Chris has in there is a little bit high, to be honest with you.
70?
Yeah. In today's world, because we'll turn down some listings as well. 20 to 40% on signed calls is probably a little closer to 20. And yes, I do know the information, even though I don't like the information. 3 to 7%, that's about accurate. The two best internet lead converters that I know, J. Michael Manley down in Greenville, South Carolina, and Brett Tanner over in Phoenix, Arizona. Those guys are hitting 10 and 11%, but that's it. That's it. And that's using ISAs, that's using, you know, a 21-day plan, which includes 30 touches. That's going so far above and beyond with these guys, it's not even funny. 3 to 7% is probably about accurate.
Mike, when you get an internet lead that comes in, do you attack it just
Absolute.
like look and
Call,
set?
text, email, and then call, text, email again an hour later.
Okay.
Yep.
How do you, a lot of times they give you bogus information, so you just, I mean.
No, the focus is bogus, then it just goes away.
So what if you only have an email? So you just keep shooting them emails over and
Yep.
over and over again?
Yep. Absolutely. And change the paradigm on it. You know, a lot of people, I mean, they almost all say information request. You know, look at it from a different light. They want to go see that house. So that's how we always come, that's the side that we always come from. hey guys, it's Mike Perna with Keller Williams. I saw you in Thursday at 6. If they really do want information on the house, they'll double back in the email and say, well, we actually want information. But the reality is most of them that want information will just say, oh, how about Tuesday at 4? Okay, great, cool. I'll see you then. By the way, have you looked into loans yet? And then you go through your pre-qual. You know, we always go for the gut on the appointment first, and then go through the rest of LP Mama second. Right?
As a woman, I'm always hesitant to set somebody an appointment to show it. So are you actually meeting, then saying, we'll meet here and then we'll drive to the property so you can do a buyer consult? Or the first time you're just gonna show them that property and then do the buyer consult later?
You know, it depends. It depends on the lead type. On the realtor.coms and the Zillows, we just go out and show it for the most part.
Okay.
We do. You know, but the ladies, well, actually the guys too, you know, they know. They know the script and the dialogue. You know, they know that they call the front desk and they say, hey, can you grab the red file off the top shelf? That means call the police.
Mhm.
Does everybody know that, by the way? All right, so let's go over a little bit of safety. Okay, so when you're showing a house to somebody that you don't know, or you're in an open house that you don't know, let the front desk know where you're gonna be and what time you're gonna be there, right? Good stuff? And then, if you're feeling uncomfortable, and you feel like something may happen, say, pardon me, I need to call my office for a second, call the front desk, and say, hey, do you mind grabbing the red envelope, or the red folder off the top shelf for me, and can you text me the information that's in there? And they know to call the police and get them to where you're at with the quickness. Okay?
The office knows all the front desk ladies.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I will double back and make sure that they know that after this as well, because I know we've had some turnover in staff lately.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's been, I don't know if that's been taught or not, but it really should be. Yep. When you're doing open houses, you should let the front desk know where you're gonna be and what time you're gonna be there. Right? Should something happen, somebody needs to know where you're gonna be, or where you work. Right? In a perfect world, I'd like to meet every buyer at the office first and do a consult.
Mhm.
In the realtor.com world, in the Zillow world, it doesn't work because those guys are A buyers that want to go out and see properties now and will probably write contracts in 15 days or less. Not all of them, but enough of them, right? In the market leader, boomtown, conversion, what else is out there? Tiger leads, what else we got? There's a bunch more. But team leads, you know, any of those programs, most of those buyers are between 60 and 120 days out from even looking at a house. Then doing a buyer consult is way easier. Right? Because they don't even have a house they're targeted that they need to get into right now or else somebody else will buy it. They're in the market, but they're not really in the market. They're looking and keeping an eye on, and they haven't formed a relationship yet. They're that far out. You know, with our boomtown leads, when we had boomtown, you know, setting in office appointments was incredibly easy, and we used to do pretty much 100% that. There was very few buyers that wanted to go see a property today and buy this week or next week. With realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, it's pretty much buyers that want to buy right now, right? And a lot of those guys won't stand for an office appointments because they know that they can just call another agent and go out and see the house. So it's a tricky thing. You know, it's walking the line. But a lot of that you should be able to get from that upfront phone conversation as well during the report build. You should be able to tell if these guys are real or not. You know, if they're walking the walk. You know, which is a lot of where LP Mama comes in, right? Does everybody know what LP Mama? Location, price, was it location, price, motivation, agent, mortgage. Am I missing one?
Okay. Mama,
Yeah,
what's the agent?
missing an A.
2 ways, maybe.
Depends.
Yeah.
Location, price, motivation.
Agent, if they're working with another agent. Location, price, motivation. No, I remember the last one. I'll have to circle back with that. But as you're talking to them, you know, hey, where are you coming from? Well, what takes you from there to here? Oh, that's very cool. Oh, you're a job promotion or a job moving you into town. Great, how long have you been with that company? Awesome, do you really like it? You know, working in human resources for General Motors. Okay, cool. Now, as you get talking to them on the phone and doing the rapport build, you should be able to figure out if they're fake or not. Because just by asking the simple questions, and getting to know them a little bit, and getting to know them and their family a little bit over the phone, you'll know. You know what I mean? But anyway, I do find that is true on the internet leads, the 3 to 7%. Probably a little higher for Realtor.com and Zillow because those are more A buyers that are ready, as long as you stay in contact with them. I think that if done properly, it could get to 11 to 12%, but that's about where it's going to top out. 11.2% is the best I've ever seen any team do. 12-13% is the best I've ever seen any individual agent do. But that was also when they had very few leads and they had nothing to do but follow up with their 3 leads and make sure all 3 of them bought a house. Does not sound negative or anything, but all issues can also be sorted with the 3 L's: listings, leads, and leverage. Right? When we're in the Gary Keller Masterminds, we are not talking about listings and we are not talking about leads. We're only talking about leverage. That's it. Because those 2 problems have been solved. Leads are easy to create or easy to just go after. Listings are actually not as hard as it looks, as long as you actually put the time and energy and effort into it. It's the leverage part. That's the hardest part of running a business. Getting the right who. Right? Which is another class for another day. Is anybody looking to build a business that requires assistants, buyers, agents, anything of that nature? I got 1, I got 2. Anyone else? 3?
Yeah.
4? Okay. Are all 4 of you signed up for Recruit Select May 7th and 8th?
Oh, we need to.
No,
Do that when you walk out of here.
Okay.
Recruit Select,
Recruit Select.
where we sign up.
Mike Sheback has the link for it.
Okay.
Yep.
Is that in Grand Rapids or no, here?
That is at the Novi, that hotel that's in Novi, on Novi Road.
Just got an email for that.
Did you?
Yeah, it just came in.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Oh,
Came
I
this
wasn't
morning,
quite
so
so
just sent it
good.
out.
Let's go. We'll definitely sign up for that. Tony Brody's teaching it, I think it is. He's supposed to be one of the top 5 teachers of that course in the U.S. He's awesome. Seth Campbell, in my opinion, is the #1, but flying out to see him versus just going here. Just go here and see it. It's May 7th and 8th. It's awesome. It teaches you how to literally recruit and select people. In June, Nikki Ubaldini is coming in from Florida to teach TLM, which is the second half of the course. Train, lead, motivate. Nikki Ubaldini is awesome. Nikki and Gary Ubaldini own the South Florida region. They own 8 offices. They own the title company. They own the mortgage company. And they have a mega agent team producing at about an $80 million level. None of which they actually do anymore. Because they got the right people. And then they trained, lead, and motivated the right people. Right? That's life. That is building a business. All right, let's get to accountability. Actually, as it really should be. Has everyone done a 411? I got a 1. Anyone else? All right, who has not done a 411? Fantastic. This is going to be way fun. I love 411. Has everyone done a 135?
No.
Oh, that's fun. All right, and let's go all the way back down to the basics. Who's got a calendar?
I have a
All
calendar.
right, everybody has a calendar. Okay, good. Anybody who doesn't have a calendar, I'd be very, very sad. Especially nowadays with phones and the way life works. All right, so we're gonna do a 135 and a 411, and we are gonna need the calendar as well. Okay? Andrew's with you?
I'll go on one.
Yeah.
No? Okay, that is okay. We will have another one. We need 3 more. And it may change.
Hi, can you answer one question while you're passing out?
Absolutely.
Okay, so since you've been able to go from the incubator stage all the way up to being kind of independent from the day-to-day, how has your mindset changed over time, or your excitement about the business, or what have you? Were you equally as happy when you were like cranking on the phone calls, or do you find yourself to be happier now?
Frankly, I'm happier now. Just to be frank.
Yeah.
Teaching was what I wanted to do, and that's why I went to history as a master's. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to teach. I want to teach history. I want to teach in high school. This allows me to fulfill my need to teach. This position now does. and I get to make way more money than any high school teacher will ever make. Like, ever. Except the ones that win the lotto, which are like nothing, almost. It just comes down to what you enjoy and then shaping your world around that, right? If you enjoy listing appointments, then go on listing appointments. If you enjoy working with buyers, you can do that at a high level too. I mean, Saritha in California, not even like a great part of California either. I don't remember what city she's from, but it's her and 4 showing assistants. She really doesn't do listings very much at all, and she sold 60 million worth of buyers last year, which was about 180 buyers. No buyers agents, just showing agents. She sold 20 while she was in India last July. She went to India for 6 weeks, sold 20 homes. Yep, did all her buyer consults over the phone.
She doesn't post no listings at all.
Not her thing. But what she does do is she changes the buyers into a listing, which is key. Yep.
She maintains her relationships with those buyers that become homeowners.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
But she usually refers out the listings to other agents because she doesn't like listings.
Okay.
It's just her thing.
Mhm.
So what she does is, buyer lead comes in, she contacts them, gets them into the office, sits them down, or does the over-the-phone consult, signs the buyer, sends them out with the showing agent. So showing agent identifies the property they want. She writes the offer, negotiates the offer, turns it over to the closing coordinator. Closing coordinator brings it down to the closing. She attends the closing. What does that sound like?
Life.
Sounds like a listing. A listing, you go to the house, you sign the listing, wait for an offer to come in. Offer comes in, you negotiate the contract, and then send it to the closing coordinator, and then it goes to closing. So she literally has turned her buyers into listings. Right? That makes sense? Yeah. Not a bad way to do it. Yeah. When you're hiring buyer's agents, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would not have hired a buyer's agent first, I would have hired a showing agent first. Because then I can train that showing agent exactly how I want them to be trained, doing everything I do all the way down to my nuances. Tell the same jokes, everything, with the same punchline at the same time, everything. I could literally recreate me because that person would then be with me for literally 6 months in buyer counsel after buyer counsel after buyer counsel after buyer counsel. And then after 6 months of literally seeing 5 buyer consults a week, 150 times they're literally in that room listening to me, I can start turning over pieces of that buyer consult. And then eventually the whole thing and watch them do it. And then when they get out there as a buyer's agent, what do? Hire them a showing agent. And let them train them for 6 months.
Explain the difference between buyer's agent and showing agent.
Buyer's agents, literally, I hand over a buyer lead, cold, not even call it. That person handles it all the way from that call to the closing. And they make a higher level percentage. Showing agent does not. As a rainmaker, I would keep the conversions to myself. Not keep the conversions to myself. As the skilled person at converting, I would continue to do that. Book the appointment, get them signed on the appointment because that's where my skill set lies, and then turn over the showings to somebody else. But for that, they make a lower percentage as well.
They still get paid a percentage of the
Yeah.
commission.
Yep. Generally accept the payment for a showing agent is 20%.
Do clients ever have a problem with sitting down with a buyer's agent and then having somebody else show them the home?
Not if you get the showing agent involved up front, and not if you don't call them a showing agent. To the client, it's always a buyer specialist. To us, it's a showing agent. But they gotta be present at that first meeting, because the minute you run out there and show a home, and then you say, now the next set of showings, this person will be here who you haven't met before. They're like, but we wanted you. Which is true. They've gotta be there at the onset. If they're not, it's very, very hard to turn that over. It can happen, but it's very hard. Right?
Do showing agents usually get paid hourly in addition to percentage?
Some
or-
do, some don't. Some do, some don't. On my team, they don't. They make a percentage. But showing agent is a stepping stone to be buyer's agent, so it's not a long-term gig anyway.
Right.
You know? Yeah, some teams out of state do a lower percentage, like a 5 or a 10% bump. but a 20 or $25 an hour. Which winds up being about the same thing anyway. Sort of between 15 and 25%. Yeah, but it's a good way to retain control of the client, not lose the client to somebody that may or may not have the skill set that you're looking for. But not for the time of the showings either. Which is pretty cool. That's a huge
Something
change.
they're gonna talk about at the recruit select?
Yeah, they will. And also the personality profiles for a showing agent, personality profile for a buyer's agent, how to find them, how to identify them, and the questions to ask during the interviews. Personality profile is one part of the recruit select process, and there are 7 parts. When you get through the entire recruit select process with one person, that should take about 12 hours. It's long and it's arduous, but it works, guys. When I've used it, I come out with employees that stay with me for years and they excel. When I skip steps, and I have skipped steps even recently, it does not work out well. Right? I think I know better than the system. Incorrect. The system knows better than me. Right? It's a system that Gary Keller not made up, but he came up with to help agents hire and help offices hire, help everybody hire, the region hire. And he came up with it based on 2 things. He based on Bain Henyon, who is a personality profiler and one of the best in the United States, combined with, I think it was Duke University, he gave a $5 million grant to literally study hiring techniques and boil it down into the best single way to hire that any corporation can do. Taken from the corporations that are the best at hiring, which include McDonald's, Target, Amazon, those guys, right? It's a very expensive program for Gary to make, but it was worth it, at least to me. Yeah, over the course of my life as a real estate agent, I will make back more than the $5 million that he's put into it, personally. And I can't speak for any of the other agents, but I know there are a lot of other agents that feel the same way. Yeah. Okay, so 135. Any other questions before I? Okay. All right, 135. I love the 135 because it's a great focusing tool that helps me outline the rest of my year, right? So, we're going to have one main objective that we're going to try to accomplish this year. We're going to have 3 priorities that are going to lead up to that main objection, 3 ways to get there, and then 5 strategies for completing each one of the priorities. Okay? So, let's start with the main business objective. What do you guys want to make this year? Pick a number. Doesn't matter.
Gross or net? How do you usually
Gross.
do it? Gross.
200.
200,000. Excellent. I like the round numbers. Good stuff. Okay, 200,000. Now, what does that look like volume-wise? So we need to sell, what's that, about 8 million? No, 7, 6, 7, 6, 6, 5, 6, 4. 6, 4? About 6.4 million, is that about right? 6 million is 180,000. 400,000 is 12. 6, 6. Yeah. So that's 6, 6 in volume. Right? Which is how many units? Let's take an average sales price of, is 200,000 good? Just trying to keep all these numbers as round as I can possibly make them. Okay, so that's 33 units. Right? All right, so there's our 1. We want to make 200,000 gross, which is 6.6 million in volume, which is 33 units. Right? Now, I usually try to break that down one step farther into what type of units, listings versus buyers, how many of each. I don't know, what do you guys think? I usually go, all right, I'm going to take a step back. This may or may not be as applicable as it could be, but when I do my 135, I base everything off listings. Everything. My lifeblood is listings. Buyers happen because they happen. Right? Without listings, there are no buyers. Or you can go buy your buyer business, and that sucks. And it's a very non-repeatable business because now you're basing your business on the whims of other companies and what you're buying Zillow leads. And Zillow raises the price 30% next month. It will put you out of business if you're running a team.
Or if they change the algorithm, all of a sudden you don't get any leads.
Yep. So let's base this off of listings. Does that sound fair?
I like that.
Okay. Is that okay? Okay. So we're looking for 33 closed listings, right? That's supposed to be a C. Right? To get to 33 closed listings, there's usually about a, let's call it a 20% fallout rate. So let's say that we need to take, just as a round number, 36 listings. I'm trying to keep, and that's my listings taken, right? I'm trying to keep all the numbers as round as possible, right? 20% would be closer to 40, but you know, that's fine. Because at 33, that's, at 36, that's 3 listings a month, right? So now we need to have 3 priorities. How are we gonna get there? What are our priorities for getting listings? Okay? So, what's a good way to get listings?
Expires.
Expireds?
Sell by owners.
Sell by owners?
Sphere of influence,
Sphere of influence? Open houses?
circle prospecting.
Circle prospecting? All right.
Mailman.
What's that?
Mailman.
Mailman? All right, I'm gonna put down prospecting. Sphere of influence. And open houses. That sound fair? No? And I'm gonna lump together expired, for sale by owners, circle prospecting, anything to do with picking up the phone and calling on not met into this category. Anything to do with contacting a met in this category. Remember guys, there are only 2 types of people in this world.
Yeah.
People you have met, people you haven't,
I love the simplicity of that.
right?
Yeah.
No, I like simple. I'm a simple person.
Open house, bro.
So I cut that out of the tape, by the way. Complex, I'm like an onion. So those are our 3 priorities, right? So what would be 5 strategies to achieving those 3 priorities? Let's start with prospecting. Calling expired. Calling for sale by owner. Circle prospecting. We're missing 2. What else do I need?
Door knocking.
Well,
No. And don't just think actions. Don't just think actions. Think things that you actually need to perform these tasks.
what about, just sold
No,
direct mail? No.
no, that gets away from the phone.
Okay.
How about knowing the scripts?
Oh, yeah.
That's something we need to do. I can pick up the phone and call them, and they say hello, and I say hello, and they say, what are you calling me for? And I say, I don't know. That's a problem,
Yeah.
right? So know scripts. And 5, I'm just gonna add this one, and track numbers diligently with a big D.
What is number 3 again?
Circle prospecting.
Circle.
Which is like just listed, just sold. You get a listing, calling around that listing, that kind of a thing. Okay? Sphere of influence. What are things we need to do?
Quarterly phone calls.
Phone calls,
Nope. Drip campaign, maybe? 33 touch?
notes, drip campaign, email drip campaign.
How about attending social events or networking events?
Social and networking. How about adding to the database? Make it bigger. Add to database. How about that? Open houses. what we need to do for those guys. This is gonna be more during and around the open house than anything else.
Door knocking.
Yes. Just hoping somebody would say that first. Door knocking neighborhood.
One thing I like that, Mike, did you say this in another session when you said, well, what if you had the open house open 1 hour earlier as a private neighborhood thing?
Yep.
That makes it so easy to go invite people because you're like, this is a special thing I'm inviting you to.
Yep.
I mean, you don't feel bad about inviting them.
Not at all. I'll feel bad about inviting them anyway.
Right.
Why not?
You did, I think one of your other sessions you had before, because I think it was Steve or somebody said that they sold the house before they had the opportunity to have open house. And I said that one of your sessions you said before that you had invited all the neighbors and said, hey, we already sold the house, but we're having like a going away party for Sally and John, which I think is a great idea.
Why
So
not?
Still, yeah.
Why not just do the open house anyway?
Right.
Yeah.
Why not? You already did all the work to invite all the neighbors.
Right, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. How about a follow-up system?
What is that advertised?
Advertising system. There we go. Now we've got 15 things we've got to conquer over the course of the year.
What is number 2 under sphere of influence?
Notes.
And the number 4 is, what is that, social?
Social and network events.
Okay.
Networking events.
It's 5 when they're open house.
Scripts. Yep. Scripts, and more scripts. Yep. And if you were my friend Ben Kinney, you would have a 1-3-5-5. Take each one of these and break them down into 5.
Which are more like your tasks, right?
Yeah, we're not gonna get that far though. Okay, so there's our 1-3-5, right? The only thing we need to determine is now is how many of these listings are we gonna assign to each one of these, right? We need 36 for the year, we need 3 per month. Right? Actually-
What is number 5 under open house?
Scripts.
Scripts.
Yep. Scripts, and more scripts.
Mike, do you think open houses are gonna pull nearly as well as the first 2 categories?
No, they won't.
Neither.
But if you're looking to be a farmer at some point in time, they will. Yeah, this is definitely a long man's game, but it works. And actually, I'm gonna change this, I was just gonna, thank you, change that for that reason. I'm gonna change it to 48 listings taken, just so I can split it out a little easier. I personally would look for 2 listings a month from here, 2 listings a month from here, and then 1 from here.
And
Or at least
part-
listing appointments, I'm sorry. Listing appointments.
48 listings.
Yeah. And I know that if I go on 2 listing appointments from prospecting, 2 for my sphere, and 1 for my open house, that's 5 appointments, which is gonna land me 4 listings, which is gonna give me the 80% of that for closings, which is knock 9 off of it, 9.8. So it's gonna give me about 35 closings. I'm gonna go 33. So it works, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So I need 5 listing appointments per month, right? Now, how does this work in relation to the 411? I'm asking the question knowing that no one has ever done this before. Yet. Now we start translating it onto the 411. Right? And look how this thing is set up. Kind of similar. Not the same, definitely not the same, but a little similar, right? Who did your 411 with you? Ken? Okay. I've never actually done one with Ken, so I'm just going to explain it myself. It'll probably be a little different. Okay. But I want to know if it's different or not. Okay. Does anybody know the power behind the 411?
I don't know why it's called a 411.
It keeps you accountable, it makes you look at what you're doing every day, and it makes you adjust to your goals.
Absolutely. Okay, so Ken actually did a good job, so I don't need to go back and retrain Ken. 411, if you flip it over, it's 1 year, 1 month, 4 weeks. Or 4 weeks, 1 month, 1 year, however you want to look at it, right? So, under the yearly, we're going to put our goal of $200,000. Or whatever goal that you want to put, doesn't matter. We're also going to put that we're looking to do 6.6 million in volume. We're looking to close 33 units and list 48 units. That is our 1 year. That is what we're doing this year. Does that make sense? There's a reason why I gave you this layout for the 411, not the newer version. As you can probably tell, it's got the old Keller Williams logo on it, not the new one. This is the one we use because of this box over here. Has anybody read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent? Spends a chapter dwelling on the big why. Making a couple $100 grand a year is a nice thing to do. But if there's no reason to do it, then why bother? Right? And that's where the reasons go. So, on my goal list this year, I have run a full marathon, actually run 2 full marathons. I have lose 10 pounds. I have, which I'm halfway there. What else do I have? Save X amount of money in the bank. It can be put X amount in for the kids' college fund. It could be pay off the house to a certain level. It could be take these 2 vacations or prepare to take these 2 vacations, whatever that might be. Right? Going back to the Europe trip. For Friday. Right? Whatever it is that you're working towards, money for the sake of money is irrelevant. It is a mythical thing. It's an abstract value. You cannot actually quantify it. And we know that because there are money exchanges that fluctuate every single day. Even the people that make and print money and put it out there have no concept of the value of it because it itself changes every single day, right? $1 is not worth what it was 30 years ago. It's not going to be worth what it's going to be in 20 minutes. In a couple of hours, the Nikkei opens, right? The Japanese Stock Exchange. And every day at the same time when that happens, whatever it is that the Japanese currency is, that I cannot remember off the top of my head, I don't know why I'm mind blanking, but yes, thank you. Whatever the yen trades at will go up against the dollar and will change that. In the same way that if you look at the Middle East, their markets open before ours and they affect the dollar as well. And so on and so forth. Then we affect the yen and then it just goes in a circle every single day, right? Money for the sake of money is irrelevant. Money does not make people happy, but it does buy the things that make you happy. Right? What's the #1 cause of divorce?
Money.
Yeah. #2 is picking the wrong person because both people suck, but or at least one of them sucks, but one's probably okay. But #1 cause of divorce is money, right? What's the #1 cause in the United States right now of a kid not going to college? Money. There is not a kid in this United States that would get denied from every single college.
Right. Because it's a competitive thing.
Mhm.
Colleges will let people in, so you can get money.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't get an Eastern, great. You go OCC for a while. Oh my. Now, at the end of the day, money is the root of what makes you happy. But it's not the root of happiness. Does that make sense? Now, this is not DuckTales. This is not the guy with the money pit that swims around in his gold coins. Whatever that cartoon was. I cannot remember. DuckTales. Yeah, DuckTales. Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name now. But these are the things where, it's not Scrooge McDuck though. He had a different name. In that he was Scrooge McDuck in another Disney. It doesn't matter. Money allows us to save for that college education. Money allows us to have a nice retirement. Money allows us to go travel and do the things with our loved ones that we want to do. Money gives us back our time and our freedom. That's what it's there for, right? Time is the thing of ultimate value. And this I am going to say out there. Time is the only thing in this world that we cannot go get more of. Right? When you spend it, it is gone. You can never get it back. Money allows you to spend your time in a different way. Okay? So, those personal goals are extremely important to me. When we do our 411s on our team, and we go really deep into the personal. Because without the personal, why bother go show a house? Why bother go sell a house? Why bother go list a house? Why bother do any of that if it wasn't to allow you to go do something else? Does that make sense? Yeah. Now with the 411, we're going to break that down into the month. So we put these goals up here for the year, right? Or something similar to it for yourselves. So what do we need to do every month? We need to list 4 houses. We need to close 3 houses. And the last thing I always put on mine is reevaluate average sales price. Because I can be on track to close 33 houses. But if my average sales price is 150, not 200, I'm not going to get to that income goal that I'm looking for. Right? Or I can go the other way with it. We can be on track to close 33 houses, but if my average sales price is 350 and not 200, and I'm skipping my kids, soccer games and soccer practices and trying to kill it to get this goal done, come to find out, I don't actually need to work as hard, and I could spend more time with the family because I don't need 33 units because my average sales price is double. I only need 17. Now I'm getting my time back. I can go spend that time with the family, which in a lot of cases is more important than just the dollars. Right? So I always like to reevaluate my average close price and compound that against the year every single month. And it's easy to do. Now, if you had 3 closings and you did 600,000 in volume, then you're at 200,000. If you did 3 closings, you're at 900,000 in volume, then you're at 300,000. Easy enough. Right? And then you just add up all the closings for the year, divide by the number of closings, and then you're at your average for the year. Right? One of the easiest ways to make more money is to increase the average sales price.
Mike, what do you do since I understand that this is set up for listings, and that is the most important thing to be prospecting for, but we do pick up buyers along the way. So if our goal is 6.6 million volume, and we just sold 1.5 million of buyers,
Yep.
do you add those in, or you just say that that's just bonus?
I would say, well, one of two. It depends.
Yeah.
Depends on who you are. For me, it's just bonus.
Mhm.
But you might strike a listing off and add the buyer sale on. But I do know this, if you're focused on buyers, you're right, you will come up. If you're focused on listings, you will come up with buyers.
Right.
So that allows you the ability to strike that listing sale off. But if you focus on buyers, you will not get listings
Right.
automatically. You will by accident, but it's not automatic. Right?
Yep.
No. So, if you close 4 buyers, great. Then you don't need 33 closed listings, you need 29. Right? But buyers can be a much more up and down business. It's not as stable. So I always like to base everything off of listings first, buyers second. You know? I mean, I can put 5 signs on the ground and think I'm going to get a ton of sign calls and get none because it's 5 dogs. They'll still sell. I will still get paid, but I may not get a buyer lead off of it at all. And I put a sign in the ground on Farm Crest over in Northville. That's the only thing we got calls on this weekend, that one house. We got 60 listings on the market, and literally, it was like, I think we took, it happens. You know, but it's wonky like that. Doesn't mean the other ones won't sell. Just means I may not get a call on it, right? Here comes the fun part of the 411, the true power behind it. We're gonna fill out the first week, which is this is a very appropriate time of the month to do this, okay? Now, this is the power behind the 411, okay? Most people, when did they do their goal setting?
January.
Yes. And when's the next time they look at the goals? Yes. Right? And by then, you have like 4 days, like December 26th, you're sitting there, nobody wants to go see houses. You're like, okay, let's review the goals, let's see how we did. But there was no direction, the ship was rudderless, so it just continually went off course. Sometimes it went back on course, sometimes it didn't, but who's to know if it actually did or did not? Right? When do companies look at their goals?
Every week or every month.
Quarterly. Quarterly earnings reports. Absolutely. Right? When do most coaches say to look at their goal? Every month. When does the 411 say to look at the goal?
Every week.
Every week. And that's why you only fill out 1 week at a time. Not all 4. We're not mapping out the entire month. We're only going to map out this week. And then on Sunday, we're going to reflect on what happened this week to map out our next week. Did what we do was what we did, was that effective? Was it ineffective? Did we achieve the goal that we wanted to achieve this week, which parlays into the month goal, which parlays into the year goal? Or did we not? Or did we overachieve? Right? Those are all important things to know. That's how you goal set and provide yourself accountability. Now, so week 1. Let's start with the prospecting side. Okay, so one thing I do know is that expireds are the quickest way to a listing. Right? So what do we need to do this week? Well, we need to conquer at least one of these things, probably 2. So the first thing we're going to do is put down memorize expired script. Yep. So the first thing on week 1, right there. We're going to break that down even further in a little bit. Okay. Second thing, we're going to call expireds. We're only going to do that one thing, because let's just focus on one thing at a time. You know, the book's not called the 2 things. It's called the 1 thing, right? Pick a thing, and create that thing, and move on to the next thing. So let's call expireds. Based on our conversation earlier, how many expireds do we need to call? Well, we're looking for 2 appointments this month. That we know. Based on our conversation earlier, it means that we need to talk to 35 people to get 1 appointment, but we need 2. So we need to talk to 70 people this month. There are 4 weeks in a month, which means we need to talk to 20 people. Right? I round up because I am an overachiever, and that's how we use it here. So if I need to talk to 80 people this month, expired, knowing that I've got a 15% connect rate, this week I need to talk to 20 people, which means I need to dial the phone about 120 times. Right? That sound fair? So, I'd write down call 120 expireds.
Is that for the week?
Yeah, because we're only looking for 2 appointments this month on the expireds, which means you only need to connect with 70, 80 people at a low skill level, and they'll get better as time goes on as the skill level goes up, right? So we're going to focus on this one and this one this week. Now on the SOI, phone calls, no, email campaigns, social events, add the database, scripting, all together, this is a hell of a lot of stuff. But how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time. So we're going to break it all back down, okay? So phone calls, let's start there, because I always like starting with the number 1 thing. Phone calls. How many people do we have in our spheres right now? Just shout some numbers out there. People that we actually know. Not leads that come in that we keep packing our spheres with, or keep packing our databases with. How many actual people? How many? 70? No. The average American knows 256 people. Right? There's a list out there somewhere. You know what? Debbie's got it. Ask her for it. It'll throw her off guard. It'll be fun on the next one. But there's a list. It's like a memory jogger. You know, it's the same thing I do when I actually talk to clients when I'm going through my sphere. And I'll turn that into a script for you in just a minute as well. But you know, if you think about it, okay, do you know an accountant? Yeah. Was that in the 70 people? Probably not. Do you know a electrician? Might. Or a plumber, or a drywaller, or, you know, all these people are in your sphere. You know, your PTA. Who's got kids? So your sphere level's like 800 instead of 250. Seriously. Right? You know, all those people go in your database. These are people that know you and like you. And for the most part will probably remember your first name. Not necessarily, but probably. Right? My goal, and my sphere is probably around 2,000 at this moment. Maybe a little higher. But my goal is to separate them into an A list and a B list. Right? Because as the sphere grows, which we'll talk about growing the sphere and to the database, as the sphere grows, you'll find that some people just don't give referrals no matter what you do. You can walk on water during a real estate transaction. They're just not wired for it. That's it. It's just life, right? And there are some people that will give you a ton of referrals and you're not sure why. You're like, it was an average transaction. I just did my job and I went home. And then it was it. They got keys, I left. Life was good. And that was it. But it's just in their personality set to do that, right? Your high I's and your high S's tend to be your high refer people. Your high C's and high D's tend not to be. I am bad at that. Yep. There is the DISC personality profile, DISC. Right? Your D's are your drivers, your I's are your sociables, your S's are your empathetics, and your A's are your analyticals. I'm sorry, C's are analyticals. Let's think about analytical when I said A. So your drivers are your get it done people. I don't care about the process. Good thing to know about them, especially when you're on listing appointments, is as long as they have confidence in the person, they have confidence in the process, and they do not want to know the process at all. And if you tell them the process, they will kick you out of their house. And I have done that before. You think I haven't gotten a loan before? I have. Why do I have the first guy that tried to give me a loan? Fired. Because he was trying to explain the process. I do not care. You know, my first life insurance guy. You know, 20 minutes into the meeting, I just said, I'm so sorry. This is not going to work out. Because 20 minutes in, he had explained one of 5 products to me. And I don't care. I don't care. Oh my God, I so don't care. You know? And I, you know what? And I stopped him because I was actually confident in him. I said, you know which product I probably want, right? He's like, well, yeah, I know the best fit for you. I'm like, absolutely. I said, great. What's that one? What's the name of that one? Just the name. Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I got to explain all the... No. You don't understand. You do not need to explain, and I need you to not explain any of it. That's my need. It's for me not to know these things. I just need to know that you know these things. And once I'm confident of that, then you make the decision for me because that's what you do every single day of the week. Once a driver has confidence in the person, the thing, the mechanics of it, don't matter. But if they lose confidence in the person, they will micromanage that person to death. That's the flip side of the deal. Right? So when you're on these listing appointments, there was one that I went on. I took another agent on for training a couple of months ago, and literally I walked in, did my rapport build, did my walk around, did my sit down, and I came to realize that the husband was such a high D, it wasn't even funny. He was like 9 asterisks D, just like myself. and I had my 2 inches thick of comparables and everything. I pulled out the 2 that mattered, and I said, listen, because of this home and this home has a finished basement, you don't. This home's 400 square feet bigger, yours isn't. Your home is priced here. Now, if you want, I can take the hour and a half to 2 hours and go through all this information with you. All 3 inches of paper. I can go through each and every one. I can show you every photo of every home. The average home is 25 photos. And I brought 100 homes. Or, you can come to realize I do know what I'm doing. Do you think that I know what I'm doing? Well, absolutely. Like your track record speaks for itself. Great. Do you have any questions on pricing? Nope. All right. And that's it. If I did go through all those 100, he would have let me out the door and he would call somebody else. Seriously. Now, I's and S's look very similar, which is why they're next to each other on the disc. It's almost like folding a piece of paper, right? Your I's are people that are going to tell stories about them. They're going to be your sociables, your amiables, they laugh the loudest at the parties. They're the life of the party. I walks into a party, nobody knows them. Shortly thereafter, the party starts circling around that person. That's your I. I's talk about things. Things come from them out. S's react in the opposite manner. They can be very sociable, but S's pull things from people. They're empathetic, right? S's always have a great question about your kid. S's always have a great question about your job. S's have a great question about what's going on in your life. They come off like an I because they're very sociable and people like them, but they're the opposite. They're pulling information, not pushing information out, right? C's are analyticals, and those are the people that love their numbers, they love their processes, they love their systems, and they love very small moves at a time. They do not like change, but one thing's certain, they can mirror themselves as D's. If you have any questions, that go see Nancy De La Rosa in my office. Her D is under 25. It's like on a scale of 1 to 100, it's like a 23. It's one of the lowest I've ever seen on this test. But her C is at a 90. When she's sure of something, she's really damn sure of something. And she will make sure you know that she's sure of something. And it will come out forceful, like a D. But the minute she deviates from the known, even though it might parallel something that's almost what she knows, she falls apart. Right? She gets quiet. She becomes more of an introvert. She listens. And generally disregards. It's just a personality profile. That's all it is. Right? Yeah. With trained behavior, you can change that to an extent, but it will be very uncomfortable. It'll be a very uncomfortable life. If you guys have not taken a DISC test, please take a DISC test for yourself. DISC tests are personality profiles. ABAs, which is a Keller Williams tool, is a character profile. Right? There's personality and there's character. Personality can change every 6 months, which is why I take mine every 6 months, because I like to know where I'm at and exactly how annoyed with the world I am. The last 4 times I've taken it, every 6 months, the last 4 times I've taken it, my D is like off the chart, my I, my S, and my C are like 0. You know, because I'm just so annoyed with people, like, can you just do your jobs? Can you just go it. You know, really. You know, my I, which is usually like above the line, because I'm naturally a DI, it goes to like straight to 0. Especially when I'm dealing with idiots. Then I'm just like, you know what, just no time. Sorry, bro. I gotta go. Yeah. So it shifts over time based on your environment as well, not just your natural proclivity, but your environment. Your AVA is your character. Studies show it takes 8 to 12 years to shift character, and the older you get, the harder it is to do it. Generally speaking, by the time you're 30, you are who you are. Between 20 and 30, people actually do shift around their character, and you can. Under 20, it's pretty open. Right? I'm a 9-5-1-5, which means I can be a high I or I can be a low I. I can be a super analytical, or I can not care about the numbers. Right? reading your crowd is very, very, very important, right? If you're in the room with an eye on a listing appointment, keep asking them about their kids. Keep asking them about the picture of the sailboat. Keep asking them about where they're going next on their trip, because all they want to do is talk about themselves. You will say almost nothing on the listing appointment, but you'll be the best agent that they've met with. If you're meeting with an S, then tell the stories, because they want to get to know you. They want to know you. And that's okay, let them know you. It's fine. You know, then the reversed forward tactic works out the best, right? Anybody know what Ford stands for?
Four.
Crappy car. No, I'm kidding. That was bad. It's actually a very good car, nowadays especially. But family, organization, recreation, and dreams. Those are the 4 things that we should be talking about with our speaker constantly, because that's all they care about. Everybody listens to the same radio station, guys. WYFM, what's in it for me? Seriously. Everybody loves to talk about themselves. And think of the best conversationalists you know. Do they actually say anything? Do they just ask questions? Probably. Be interested, not interesting. Right?
D was
Dreams.
dreams.
When I'm talking to my speaker, my goal is to hit each one of those during a phone call. I usually get to about 3 out of 4. Right? In 20 minutes. And then your C's will love to talk about work and processes. Ah, the boss came in today, and guess what he changed on me? Again. I don't know. Stuff like that. And that's fine. Oh my gosh, there's a new form of Keller Williams, and it sucks because now I gotta get this one signed and completely change my process. Now I gotta retool my entire listing presentation because of this one little home warranty form. Well, no, you just end the form. You know, but to a C, it's like the world is crashing. You know, it's like government shutdown. It's like things are happening. Like we got to get into our bunkers here. It's like, you know, we got to put like a blanket over our head and just go rock in a corner, like by ourselves for an hour. You know, because they moved the initial spot from the left side of the page to the right side of the page. Seriously, I'm serious. That's how these guys feel on the inside, even though they don't exude it usually. They're much more calm. But they will say, screw you, I'm leaving after a while. But they'll do it very calmly, right? Good to know about employees. So, SOI. Eventually we're gonna wanna put people into an A list and a B list, because there are just gonna be too darn many people to call, right? Your A list are gonna be the people that are the most apt to refer you. Those people are generally gonna be your I's and your S's. What is the easiest way to tell if somebody is a referral personality? Ask them where to get the best steak in town. If they know the answer in under about 3 seconds, then they can say, oh, you gotta go to Ruth's Chris. Oh, you gotta go down here. Oh, you gotta go to Andiamo, but not just any Andiamo, this Andiamo. Then yeah, they're gonna refer you. If they shrug their shoulders, I don't know. Well, you know what, if they don't remember the name of a steak place, they're not gonna remember you. I promise. No, that's it. Now, what's the best burger you've had in the last couple of months? Because I'm really in the mood for a burger. Doesn't matter if you're in the mood for a burger or not, but if they can't come up with a decent burger joint, I mean, how many blogs are on the best burger joints in Metro Detroit? Seriously. I mean, I can name 4 burger joints like I'm thinking of right now that I would definitely go get a burger at this moment in time. And none of them are chain restaurants, because I was thinking about chains. But, you know, they can't recommend a good restaurant off the top, but they will not refer you. I promise. That doesn't mean they have to have a wonderful transaction with you. It can be one of the rockiest transactions ever, but the fact that you landed the plane and got the job done makes them a good referral a lot of times, right? So there's an A list and a B list. Your A list should never go over 100 people. And everybody else goes on your B list. Because they will refer from time to time, right? No. I heard somebody ask the question. Good question, everybody. What happens when you get to 100 people on your A list and there's somebody else you want on your A list, but your A list is full because, Mike, you told me you can't have any more than 100. Great question. Glad you guys asked. At that point in time, they have to earn their way on. If somebody shoots you a referral, then they probably belong on the A-list, right? At that point, you go back to your A-list, you look over it, and you say, well, shoot, you know, none of them have referred me, so I'm gonna bump one and put this person in their place. Because as humans, we only have a finite number of people we can talk to and maintain relationships with. Because our time is finite as well. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you got your A-list and your B list, right? With your A-list, if you make 3 calls a day into your A-list, what are you doing? You're getting through your entire A-list every month, right? And then if you make 3 calls a day into your B list, you're generally getting through your B list about once a quarter. Because the B list will grow exponentially as you keep on closing things, as you keep meeting people, as you know the kid doing soccer this year is doing hockey next year. It's a whole new set of parents. And I'm all in, right? Does that make sense? You know, as you start bringing this stuff top of mind, to keep adding contacts to your database will actually grow much faster because it is top of mind. How many times do you meet people in a week that you could very easily add to your database? You get a phone number for, you get an email address for, you can go that one extra step and say, let me have your phone number and email address. Because we do market updates. Oh, by the way, let me grab your address too. And I'll keep you updated every month as to what's sold in your neighborhood. How hard is that? Not very. Right? Once you become more consummate about it, it's more top of mind, it'll happen. If you call, I'll promise you this, if you call 3 people a day on your A list and 3 people a day on your B list, you will sell all 33 homes just doing that. Right? But for the purposes of this 411, today, all we need to do is mark down for the week that we're going to call 42 people. Right? Because what's 6 times 7? Easy enough. So put that on there. Right? And then we're going to put down that we're going to memorize the script for it as well. Which goes right underneath it. There are many scripts out there for calling the database. I just call it getting a conversation with people. Naturally. And again, I'm looking for the 4 technique. I want to know something about their family, organization, recreation, and dreams by the time I get off that phone. Right? Open house. Let's talk about that one. Open houses we're going to do, let's call it 1 a week. Should get us in front of at least 1 listing appointment a month. Door knocking 125 homes. And again, knowing the script for it. I feel like I'm running out of time. What time we got?
I think she said 11:30, right?
What time is it now?
11:30.
I don't know, we'll just keep on going. So, for each open house, I'm going to door knock 125 homes. I'm going to leave a flyer at the home, but I got to memorize my script. So let's put down door knock 125 homes. And reality is, how long does that really take? About 2 hours. That's it. Well, you know.
That's what it's not.
You have been doing that,
About to
basically.
go do that now.
Yeah. Yeah. And then knowing the script for it. Hey guys, Mike Perna, Keller Williams. I'm helping out Jenny and Sam with selling their home over on 123 Main Street. I always use the names. We're working with people here, guys. We're not working with houses. Right? I'm working with Jenny and Sam over on 123 Main Street. They hired to sell their house. As you may or may not know, about 10% of people move into a neighborhood because they already know somebody who lives here. So I know that if I knock on 100 doors, 10 of you guys are going to know somebody that'd be a great fit for Jenny and Sam's house. So I'm going to give you 2 flyers today. I know you probably can't think of anybody right now, but please, if you have a moment, help Jenny and Sam out. Think about it. Maybe somebody at work, maybe somebody on the PTA, maybe somebody affiliated with one of the kids' organizations. Go 3 deep with it. Name 3 things because that's their memory joggers. If you think of anybody, please give them one of the flyers. Also, we'd love to invite you by You know, Jenny and Sam are gonna be there at the beginning of the open house, and I'm sure they'd love to see you, because they are moving to Colorado because of this job relocation. And that'd be great. So what do you do? You're talking to the neighbors, you're doing something no other real estate agent is doing, you're inviting them to the open house, you're making this a people thing, not a house thing. And then the end of the script is, oh, by the way, some of your neighbors have asked me to put together just a monthly sales report on what's going on in the neighborhood and email that to them, just so they can stay on top of any new listings, any pending sales, and any closed transactions. You know, I'm putting it together for 5 or 6 of your neighbors once a month, just one email a month, that's it. Is that something you'd be interested in getting on the list of? 99% of the time they'll say yes. Everybody wants to know what the home next door sells for. Right? Now when they do come to the open house, you're chatting them up. But the great thing about having a seller come into the open house, when the buyer walks in, they don't know it's a seller, so the open house looks busier and all of a sudden it looks like there's competition. Right? Right. Now if you door knock on 125 homes a week, I guarantee you, you're gonna find 4 or 5 people that are looking to sell in the next 6 months or less. At that point in time, that's where the follow-up system comes in place. Right? So now, we've got, I gotta remember it, we've got call 110 expireds, call 42 people from the database, learn the scripts for both, and we've got 1 open house a week with 125 door knocks. Is that right? So what's the next step? Anybody?
Into appointment.
No, I mentioned it all the way at the beginning. Put it on the calendar, right? At this point in time, when I'm doing my 411, it's Sunday night, I'm having a glass of wine, or a beer, or a Jack on the Rocks, or something of that matter, something to that effect. Depending what kind of week it was. This past week, it was Jack on the Rocks, and many of them. But, but absolutely, I'm all about the tidbits.
Nice piece of information.
It's a real estate thing.
Is this in the recreation of the
Yeah.
Ford?
You just, you know, the worst week, the drop it goes, right?
Yeah.
So now, open up your calendar, and then you say, okay, I gotta make 120 calls, or whatever it is, whatever we put down, right? When am I gonna make these calls? And you put it in the calendar as an appointment. It's an immovable rock. So, you wanna make 120 calls Monday at 11, great. On Sunday, somebody calls you up and says, hey, I wanna go see this house over here at 11. What's the answer? No, I have an appointment at that time. I can show you the home either at 10 a.m. or 1 p.m. Which one works better? You have an appointment. And if you do drop everything you do for every buyer out there, or every seller out there for that matter, they will actually come to respect you less. They expect you on a subconscious level, if they don't realize this, to be busy. Because if you are not busy, that means you suck at what you do. And nobody wants you. Be wanted. Be unavailable. Right? That works in dating as well. Yeah. When you pull back, what happens? Right. That's right. Dating and real estate are very similar. Yeah. Very similar. You can take like the 411 and just use it. Yeah.
That's a lot of phone calls or bar visits.
Yeah.
You know, those are your open houses.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you make that immovable rock. You know, so the first thing you do, you put in there, okay, I gotta learn the expire script. So you put it in the calendar, I'm gonna learn the expire script, this 2-hour block, this 1-hour block on Monday, 1-hour block on Tuesday, I'm gonna learn this script. What am I gonna do to learn the script? Okay, great. Then you put it right in the calendar, the notes. You know, I'm gonna write the script out 20 times. I'm gonna chant it out loud 20 times. I'm gonna call a friend of mine and leave it on their voicemail 20 times. You don't call them 20 times, but you just say it real fast 20 times, right? And by going through it 60 times like that, most people when they try to learn scripts, they literally pick up the script, read it 3 or 4 times, they're like, yeah, I know it. No, you don't know it. Because when you turn the piece of paper over and you try it again, you can't get past line 1. That's the reality of it. Writing the scripts out and chanting them is the best way to do this. This is rote memorization, guys. You know, this is like 8th grade biology. You gotta just know it. And to know it, you just gotta go over it. Right? How do you know molecule structures? You just Diagram it out over and over and over. That's what we did in high school. This is no different. We are going back to school because we're learning a trade, right? Once you know it, that was on the calendar, then you make the phone calls, that's on the calendar. You gotta make 42 calls to your sphere. Where does that belong? On the calendar, right? How long does it take to make 42 calls into a sphere? Because you're gonna have a couple of 20-minute conversations, probably gonna take about 4 hours, maybe 5, right? So you might wanna chunk that out and say, okay, 3 2-hour blocks, and if I get through everything, great, I get a free hour to go do something else. You know, I can go to Starbucks, get one of those like cake pop things, because those are very tasty. You know, whatever it is that you want to do. They are very tasty, by the way.
Are they?
Yeah, you're laughing at me, but
I've never had them. They look
you go
disgusting.
try them, you'll be a believer.
They look terrible.
You'll be a believer. Yeah, I was a non-believer, now I'm a believer.
How does that go with the 5 pounds, losing the 5 pounds?
With the running. Yeah, with the running. I can eat whatever I want as long as I run the appropriate amount of miles. So each and everything has to have a place on the calendar, and that calendar is your immovable rock, right? Now, at the end of the week, we're gonna look back and say, okay, we did make 120 dials, but we didn't get a hold of 20 expireds, we only got a hold of 18. Okay, well, we need to get a hold of 20. So that means we need to call 5 more people. So this week, instead of calling 120, we're gonna call 125. Out of those 18, we were able to land an appointment, which was the goal. Awesome, we're good. We're 1 appointment down, 1 to go for the month there. Out of the sphere, we made 42 phone calls. We were able to land not only 2 appointments, but 3 appointments. So what does that mean? That means that we don't need to make 6 calls a day. Maybe we just need to make 5. Right? Back that down just a little bit. And so on and so forth. Right? And you literally go through and you retweak out every single week. I door knocked 125 people this week. I actually got a hold of 4 people that want to sell their house, and that ended up resulting in 2 listing appointments. Okay, great. Maybe I don't need to door knock 125 people. Maybe I only need to door knock 90. That's fine too. It's okay to move a goal up, and it's okay to move a goal down. And it's okay to move your actions up and down. These are all moving things. But the key is, companies look at their goal setting every single quarter. Many coaches say every month. The 411 gives us 52 opportunities to right the ship. 52. Because if we go a whole month and we flub it, we got to divide the flub over 11 months to play catch up, and that sucks. If we only flub 1 week, no, we get back on track by the end of the month. Right? Made 120 calls, I only got a hold of 12 people. I called 42 people, I only got 1 referral. I knocked 125 doors. I found 1 person that thinks they're gonna sell pretty quick, but not as many as I thought. Great. So next week I'm gonna call 150 people, I'm gonna call 55 people, and I'm gonna door knock 160 houses. It's a lot easier to fix it when you can fix it that fast than wait 3 months, look back and say, oh shoot, I can't just increase it from 120 dials to 140 dials in a week. I now have to increase it from 120 to 300 a week to get back on track for my goal, because I'm playing catch up for the rest of the year. That sucks. And that's why we watch these goals every single week, right? But those are your three tools to use. The 135, which goes straight to the 411, which goes straight to the calendar, and then at the end of the week, goes all the way back. Okay, great. I conquered the expire script. What else do I need to do? Now I need to conquer the FSBO script, so that goes on the next week's 411, which then goes into the calendar. And at the end of the week, you see how you did? You go right back around again. It's rinse and repeat over and over and over. If you got something to say, I appreciate if you share it with the rest of the class, please.
Just excellent job, Mike, and I have to leave, so I was asking about the assessment, but I'll fill it out.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you out.
You're very strict.
Actually, I did mean to call you out. But,
Very strict.
I'm done. Any questions, guys? Anything I'm missing? Nothing?
Your calendar, put it to electronic or
Yep, I use, what is it, the Google Calendar.
Google Calendar?
Yeah. Easiest way to do it, because then it's on my phone, it's on my iPad, it's on my desktop computer, my laptop, everything.
Your database, do you keep in Excel or?
You know, I keep it in two places. That's a great question, actually. I probably should mention that. I keep it in Top Producer, which is the same thing as eEdge. If you don't have, if you've been using eEdge, keep using eEdge because it is a good product and it will only get better. But I also keep it in Excel. And not even Excel, I keep it in Google Docs version of Excel, so it's online. I keep an A list tab and a B list tab. And literally, I just print that again, right? And all it has is name, phone number, email. That's it. Because all the rest of the notes are in my phone. So I have an A list and a B list. My A list are 100, my B list is like 800. I just start with A, B, C, and just keep going right down the list. Like I know that I've got to call 5 of my A lists today to achieve my goal. So I'm just literally going to go from the top all the way down. When I get to the bottom, I throw it away, reprint it, start over again. So that's it. I keep it on my clipboard. It goes with me everywhere. Because a lot of these calls I actually make in the car. I'm not saying you should be talking and driving at the same time, but, and always wear a seatbelt, and no texting, and no doing makeup or anything else, by the way. I've tried it, but I bet I can do it. But I keep the A list and the B list right that simple. And then when I do get off the phone with them, I immediately stop and make the notes right in my phone. You know, what are 2 or 3 things that we talked about that I want to talk about next time? You know, Lil Johnny's up for his black belt in a couple of weeks. Well, I know I'm going to talk to him about a month because that's how long it takes me to get through my A list. So I put right into my iPhone notes, right at the top, and I keep on going like backwards in notes. I don't start from I don't put them at the bottom. I put the notes at the top so I can get to them faster. Lil Johnny up for black belt 2 weeks. Talk about that next. Done. So I call him back, and that's the first thing I ask him is, hey, by the way, how did Lil Johnny do? Right?
You say notes. You put that in the, you have an app for that, or you saying you put that in the?
I put it right in my contacts on my iPhone, but you can put them in both eEdge and the phone.
You can put it on Google too. It's like the note, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Or just get an iPhone. That's fine too.
Yeah.
I got both of them.
You don't want that.
Yeah, but you got to watch.
But I don't like the iPhone.
I got to watch it. I like the iPhone.
I think it's.
I've had both, and
Wanna hear
to be
it.
honest with you, the Droid is more, it does more, it's not as restrictive, you know what I'm saying? The iPhone, like you can't go to flash sites, it's different little things that it's like restricts you from doing if you wanted to because I use these and, you know, to talk, but they also can be used as headphones, so if I wanted to listen to some music while I'm in the office, so without disturbing anybody else, I can do that. But the iPhone, it won't let you load music from, let's say, if you wanted, well, you have to go through iTunes and some other stuff. Before it was I had it changed all my MP3s to MP4, so I couldn't use anything but iTunes. Then it was just a bunch of little crap that it just, I was like, when I worked for another company, they gave us iPhones to use, and so I used it because, hey, you know, it's a free phone, and I'm not going to turn that down. So I had extensive use with both of them, and seriously, I just like the Droid just so much better. It just seems to be more open.
Yeah.
You can just do more.
What's his personality?
What?
Pretty much. That's also part of the reason why I like the iPhone. Because it's very simple.
No, the Droid is